the Turing Dev Talks. Here is Jose, and I will be your host for today. I'm Tony from Montreal, Canada, and today on the panel we have Shadrach joining us from Kenya. And let me tell you that Shadrach is an expert in Python and has working on JavaScript as well. And recently he's learning Rust. That is another technology that we covered here in the channel. But today we're going to talk about Python for data scraping and data processing, and he will help us to understand what's the difference about them. And also we're going to talk about career perspective for Python developers who knows Python for data scraping and data processing. And stay on, okay? Watch the video to the end. Let's get started, okay? Hi, Shadrach. First of all, okay, nice to meet you. And thanks a lot for joining us today. And how are you doing? And how is the work treating you so far?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks, Jose, for having me. And work is great. It's almost a year now for me. And, I live in Nairobi. It's a bit of a high traffic region. And now that I have to work from home, it allows me to actually take greater control of my time and money as well. So I love it at Turing.
Nice. Look like Turing is providing you the work balance that we promised, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, nice. For me as well. So before we begin the discussion for today, could you tell us a little bit about your experience with Python and how it has evolved over the time?
Yeah, it's actually about now 5 years. Python was actually amongst my first languages to learn. And I think I actually love how extensive it's getting over time. It's much easier to learn and has great documentation and supports.
Oh, nice.
In addition, I think you can pick Python for just about any engineering task that you present with, from AI to machine learning, all the way to IoT. So I'm 100% in love with Python. And I think it's one of the greatest languages out there.
Nice, really nice. And yeah, I love Python as well. All right, so let's start our discussion of the day. So what is the importance of data scraping?
Yeah, so first of all, we have to mention that data is the fuel for business in the last decade at least, right? And since we have so much data on the internet, I think businesses can leverage it for several uses actually, from brand protection all the way to research and marketing, generating new leads. So I think data is critical to any business whatsoever. It's important that businesses focus on data and put proper attention to data.
All right, great. Could you tell us something about how it's done?
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about data and its presence on the internet, we can speak about a series of steps involved in general data scraping, right? So, for example, whenever we want to get some data, we have to identify the target of the data. That means the URL that we're going to be scraping from. And you might find that whenever we're scraping, we'll face some challenges because some of these websites will employ some anti-scraping tools, right? So in that case, we might employ some mechanisms to go around that. And then as soon as we have that done, we're going to make requests and get back our HTML or JSON or whatever format that they're exchanging data in. We're going to use some locators to identify the location of data in that script and then pass it into a string that contains the information. We're going to convert that string in whatever desired format we want, and then we can transfer it to storage or to any other model that needs to utilize this data. In general, that's like the general scraping process.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand what is data scraping. So, what language do we use for data scraping? That's one language recommended, or it's only Python, or can we use another language as well?
No, it's actually not only one language. Since data scraping is something quite extensive and utilized by many businesses, you find that tools and libraries have been built for most of the languages available there. So as a developer or as a business, whatever languages you guys are using, you might just use tools and libraries that work for you and get started with whatever language. But I personally prefer Python because it has some maturity within the scraping tools and libraries available. But generally, any language, I think, has its own built-in tool for that.
Nice, really nice. Okay, so now that we discussed about language, could you also help our developers understand the role of Python, okay? The role of Python in data scraping?
Yes, and as I actually just said, I personally prefer Python for data scraping and for two of the most important reasons being Python allows you to easily automate some of these tasks. If you look at data scraping as a manual method, right, it's a bit hectic and it's so tedious. And so many businesses will shy away from collecting this data, right?
Yeah.
But whenever you use
Yeah.
Python, you have tools to automate. You can automate the scraping, the parsing, the storage, and you're doing it all in one system, which is actually now the second advantage of using Python is that so many libraries are available for all these tasks. So you can put all these tasks together in one huge or maybe small system, and you can handle everything for you. I
Nice.
think,
That's great.
yeah, pretty much I enjoy using Python.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question about this. Okay. So I know that Python is split in a lot of roles, right?
Yes.
There's Python for automation. There's Python for web. There's Python for data scrap, data size. So Python is one of the most hot languages, okay, in the market right now, right?
Sure.
And I'll just give you a tip for our developers fellow here. So if you are a Python engineer, okay, and if you have 3+ years of experience, you can head on Turing.com /jobs, okay, and search for jobs in Python, and then you see that we have a lot of open position for Python, including for internal roles here in Turing. So if you would like to work at Turing as Shadrach and or as I did, so go now, okay, access turing.com /jobs, search the position for Python. We need some Python developers, apply for the job. And once you apply for a job, once you sign up to our platform, go to the vetting process, take the test for Python, improve yourself and prove us that you are a great Python engineer. And we are going to contact you, okay? And I personally would like to have one-on-one interview with you to talk about Python. And so, as that said, let's go back to our meeting, okay? So we talk about the data scraping, but so when we perform data scraping, and what according to you are the complexity about it? What complexity we might face?
Yeah, actually, I think that's a very good question because data scraping is not just, it's not as easy as it seems, right? It comes with its own challenges, and you can think about things like the new libraries which are asynchronous, and they have these clients like rendering, where so you're making a request, and then instead of actually getting the content that you're looking for, the content is loaded using agents. Again, we have things around authentication. You might sometimes want to authenticate your program before you can go ahead with your scraping. Some servers, I think most servers nowadays, I'm not going to say most, but some servers are employing some anti-scraping mechanisms, including blacklisting IPs, which are detected to be having some scraping behaviors, and things like essentially, checking through proxies, redirects, captures and recaptures, headers and request information. These are all some challenges that really need to be taken care of. But there's so many, but we might talk about them in detail maybe later. But yeah, in general, those are some of the challenges that developers might expect.
Yeah, so this is so interesting, but I have one question for you, okay? Could you please give me one example, okay, for end-to-end? For example, I'm the final user. So how do I get the benefit for Python data scraping?
Yeah, okay. I can think of an example. Let's say we spoke about how we can use data scraping to look at target markets and like analyze the competition. So if we're a business and we want to understand how prices in the markets are working out, right? We might find there's like a listing site for products in the market or the competitors, and maybe there's so much, there's extensive data in these sites. So you as an end user and as a beneficiary of data scraping, you might want to go, and actually I think this is something that businesses do. They're going to visit these listing sites or visit the competition, look at their pricing models, look at how markets has been changing around their products, but it's all done manually. Now, using data scraping, you can automate all these processes. You can fetch the price comparisons in the market. You can look at what products are users in the market preferring. I think combine all these data together and you have something that's going to give you a competitive advantage over all your competitors and like increase your market share. So as a analyzing competition, that's one way that as a business you might benefit.
Nice. So you are really good, man. You are really good. So, all right. So yeah, you're really giving me a good example. So now we can visualize what is the importance of Python data scraping in the market. Okay. And I think we should also talk about the solution now. Okay. How do you go about resolving the complexities of data scraping with Python?
Yes. So as one of the challenges we outlined being authentication, which is you're going to face more often than not. To handle authentication, it's not that complex. For simple websites, you can just make a post request containing a username and a password. So you log into the website manually, and then using those credentials, make a post request, and then grab the cookies. A cookie is something that can be used to identify your session. Grab that cookie, save it in the session, and subsequent requests will be authenticated. Right? And for a bit more complex authentication challenges, we can go for solutions like checking actually what headers are being sent by authenticated requests, and we try and match those to whatever our program will be sending. Another challenge we talked about is the asynchronous loading and client-side rendering, right? In this case, we might want to check what subsequent URLs are being sent and make them ourselves. Or in a bit more complex cases, we can use web drivers. A web driver will allow you to simulate a whole browsing experience. It allows you to load that data and not only load that data, but all subsequent requests that are being loaded. It's automating essentially that client-side rendering, right? And this all comes down to picking the right tools, your libraries, and frameworks. So for simple tasks, as we said, you can use basically Python request and beautiful soup. But for a bit more complex tasks, you can go for Scrapy, which is a huge framework that has most of these automated, or even Selenium, which is a web driver that can help you go around all these. And again, at the end of the day, before you do your scraping, you want to do a prerequisite, or you wanna like analyze your target. You want to know what URLs do they actually serve to their users? What headers are they sending? During this stage, you're able to solve most of these challenges during the initial stages, right? And with the right tools, most of the challenges will be done for. So
but this is another role, right? This is another role. Yeah, this is for data science, right?
Yeah.
See how it's connected? Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're connected. Data chance of the way to data science roles.
Sure. Nice, and that's really amazing. And honestly, this look really amazing. So, but what do you think about the future for Python data scraping?
It looks great in one sentence, but and the reason is the internet will continue producing much more data, right? Every day somebody's browsing somewhere, every day somebody's looking for products somewhere. So it means that these businesses are going to even more focus on getting this data, trying to understand the market. They'll try to like protect their brand, increase their brand coverage over time, and even more businesses are coming online. So the future for data science and for data scraping and science looks great. I think developers and organizations should actually take time and put some focus to solve some of these challenges that we talked about and make sure that their data scraping pipelines are streamlined.
Okay, great. All right. So in terms of job opportunities, okay. So what do you recommend the developer that know Python or even don't know Python learn data scraping? Do you think in the future we will have a lot of open positions, or this is a technology that are coming to the end? But believe me, I don't believe that technology goes to the end. They are talking about PHP, that PHP will die since 20 years. But so what's your idea about data scraping in the future?
I think there are so many opportunities even currently for data scraping, right? I just think that developers have not been fully focused and maybe they don't actually understand what goes into data scraping. But once they understand and they know that, look at something like AI. AI is extensive. It continues to get into the heart of businesses, right? But AI consumes data like food. And this data has to be prepared and has to come from a source somewhere. These sources are data scraper engineers like myself, and I actually at Turing, that's sort of what we do, right? And we're
Right.
producing like huge amounts of data that are being fed to machine learning models. And these machine learning models are going nowhere. So I think developers they should try and put some more effort in learning these and looking for opportunities everywhere. From Turing, I think there are so many opportunities at Turing for developers on this. Yeah, opportunities are going to be there in the future, and actually they're going to increase in the future, I think so.
Nice. And if you are looking for a job, you know what to do, right? Go to turing.com/jobs, apply for a job, and that's it. We're going to find a remote job and work with data scraping, right?
And that's what I did myself.
Yeah, so let's now move to switch to data processing, okay? Because now we know how to fetch the data. Now we have the data in our hands, right? Virtually, but yeah, we have it. So, but we need to process it. Then it comes Python for data process. Could you tell our developers what is data processing?
Yeah, sure. Actually, as you say, Python has tools for all these tasks. So as soon as you sort your data using data scraping tools that we have, it needs to be processed in a way. You'll find that in most cases, you're not only getting your data from one source, but multiple sources, right? So you need to like merge all these sources together, concatenate them, group this data. Maybe at some point you want this data in categories, and that's where data wrangling and all this data processing comes in, right? And we have libraries for that. We have something like a pandas library, which allow you to take data from multiple sources, or maybe take a single set of data and split it in multiple sources. And this is all based on your business's needs, right? Based on the data that's been presented, the raw data that's been presented. How do you want to make sense of this data? That's data processing. It's a step that comes immediately after you strip your data. And yeah, we can talk about grouping of this data, joining data, especially if you're working with structured data. Joins are very, very important. You might join with a key or column. We're talking about concatenating multiple series of data, merging data from multiple sources. Yeah, I think these are what Python is actually powerful for. It has built-in features to apply all these methods, and it's so easy. They have like simple APIs for this.
Nice. And I've seen my life that Facebook has a huge algorithm for data scraping that they use for marketing, and you can like granulate your product. You can achieve like a small group, okay? And so I have heard that we can also achieve just one single person. You can target it and achieve your product for that. And that's why the combination of data scraping and data processing, right? But what's data wrangling? It's the same of data process, because sometimes I'm really confused about this.
Yeah, I think it's a synonym for data processing, but it deals with the initial part of data processing, right? Like as you just said, you can target one person. Facebook can target one person, but you can imagine that all this data about this one person is coming from multiple sources. Maybe it's a post you made somewhere, maybe it's a shopping list you made somewhere, maybe it's something you did on the internet. But this data needs to be joined, and it needs to appear as features of one person. That's data wrangling, and which is a part of data processing.
Great. Now I know what it is. Thank you. So now, Shadrach, we've talked about Python for data scraping and data wrangling or data processing, but I think our discussion will be incomplete without mention of stemming or lemmatization in Python. And what are they, and what are some of their applications? Where should we use them, and when?
Yes, and now we're getting into the domains of machine learning and AI, because stemming and lemmatization are core concepts in natural language processing, which is a field of AI that deals with processing, or how computers can understand natural language or data that's in natural language, right? So when it comes to stemming and lemmatization, this is just text processing features, right? That you apply to data before it's fed to natural language processing algorithms. And you can think of let me just go take you through an example so that you can understand how this works.
Okay, that's great.
Let's take a word like it, right? So you can use the word it in multiple contexts. Maybe you can say it and it's, right? But all these words, they essentially mean the same thing. And you want your program, whenever, let's say you're searching for some text in your program, if it has the word it, you want it to also give you the word it's, right? So stemming allows you to get the stem of a word. And that's where it comes from, stemming, right? So we want to chop the last few characters from a certain word to get the roots, or like the stem of the word. So in our case of it and eaten, we would chop everything and leave us with the root word it, right? Now, stemming is just it's a procedural method of acquiring the stem of a word, because it entails removing some characters from the word. Lemmatization, on the other hand, will take care of the context of a word in the dictionary. And you can think of something like, let's say the tenses of is can be or was, right? But all these words in different contexts, they mean the same thing. So lemmatization is also going to help us achieve this root of a word, but in the context of a grammar. So instead of just copying some words, we're taking the context of a dictionary. So we have a dictionary that allows us to know that the word is, be, and was, they mean the same thing in different contexts, or the word bought and boating, or marketing and marketing, they mean the same thing in the context of a dictionary, and that's the importance of it. As soon as we have lemmatized or stemmed our words, they can be used in multiple cases in natural language processing. We can use them in text recognition, we can use them in, let's say, information retrieval environment. Like whenever you Google something, you can Google something that's completely unrelated, and you get some results which contain different words, but they're somehow contextually related with one another, right? So think text mining, think information retrieval, think things like document clustering, which is very important for whenever you're dealing with large documents, or whenever you're dealing with huge amounts of data. And if you want to search this data by topics, you want to have to lemmatize and stem, so that you can reduce the number of tokens that are passed during that information retrieval. But I think lemmatization in NLP and stemming, they're very critical, and they actually come at the first stages of this process.
And that's make total sense, right? That's make total sense. This has been a great discussion, Shadrach, and I think that's the time we bring our talk to close, okay? But before I let you go, could you please share with our developers some of the best Python lab for data scraping?
Yeah, sure. I think, again, as we mentioned earlier, some picking the right tools is very important. And the tools that you pick will be based on several factors. Like, for example, the scale of scraping that you're doing, how much you want automated, because at some point you might want to actually get the intricacies of scraping itself, and some of the challenges that we spoke about earlier. But I can think things as simple as Python request and Beautiful Soup and LXML. These are very great tools to do simple scraping. But whenever we now start to get into complexity, we can talk about Scrapy, which is a huge framework. It has everything within it. It's actually not a library; it's a framework. It allows you to like automate most of these things. It allows you to put in middlewares in there. If you wanna do cache control, memory management, but you don't want to have to do it manually, Scrapy is a perfect framework. We have actually used it for large projects. And for some of the challenges we cannot solve. For example, we spoke about client-side rendering or asynchronous loading of content. These challenges might have you employ tactics such as WebDrivers, right? And we have Selenium being the major web driver there, and it has support for drivers like Chrome and Google, essentially anything you need. So I can essentially summarize it based on the scripting, based on your factors, or based on what you want. You can choose Python request and then XML and Beautiful Soup. You can choose Scrapy. Or Scrapy can work from a simple project to complex project. For most, for some of the cases, if I might put it like that, for some of the cases, you might want to go with Selenium. These are the
Nice.
tools that I've used, and they can handle anything for you. And of course, we have other tools like we say pandas for data wrangling and processing. We have scientific libraries like SciPy for your NLP. That's where lemmatization and stemming comes in. And we have your database drivers to store your data and use it for future needs.
That was amazing. Amazing. Thanks a lot, Shadrach, for sharing such valuable advice. And I hope our audience enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. And thanks again for such informative talk. And I hope this video reach our large developer community and hopefully help them with some of the queries they might have regarding Python for data processing and data scraping. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to drop us an email at support@turing.com. We usually reply the same day. If not, we reply the next day because we have a dedicated team for that. And let us know in the comment section below what would like to learn in the next video. Give it a big fat thumbs up if you like this video. And don't forget to subscribe to Turing.com on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Keep close to Turing because if you keep close, so you get the job that you are dreaming for. So I will be back, and we will be back very soon with many other Turing Dev Talks stories like this. Until then, stay safe and click on the link in the description below to apply for your job dreams.